It's All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. This past weekend, a musical giant passed on. Bassist Chris Squire, founding member of English rock band Yes, passed away Sunday, a month after announcing that he was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia. He was just 67. Chris had performed on every Yes studio album and was not just a fixture in the band, but legendary throughout the world of music for his talent. Also known by his nickname Fish, Chris Squire took time for a phone call with Hawaii Public Radio in March 2012, ahead of a Yes appearance in the islands. And to celebrate and honor him, we share that conversation with you now. Aloha, Chris.
Hello.
It's Dave Lawrence. Aloha, brother. Thanks for doing this.
Aloha. Nice to be here. Thanks.
We really appreciate it. What's your own history, as you can recall it, of coming to Hawaii?
Well, I guess I've been to Hawaii at least half a dozen times. The very first time I was there was in 1972 when we were on a flight back to Los Angeles from Japan when Yes went on their first tour of Japan. And we didn't play in Hawaii, but I went to the airport. And I always remember that was back then. That was quite an experience, just being there for a layover. And then, of course, since then, maybe a dozen times I must have been to the island.
Cool memory that it sticks out that much in your mind, just making a quick layover. And you've come, I'm assuming, in addition to some professional visits, which I have highlights of thanks to a loyal listener we'll go over in a second. In addition to those, have you made personal visits, I'm assuming, over there?
Yeah. I've done vacations in Maui and Kauai and Oahu, of course. I've spent quite a bit of time there. I actually have never been to the Big Island, but I think I'm going to go and spend some time there after our shows.
Good for you.
So I'm planning on that.
The Hilo side, while you're there, the volcano has been somewhat active recently and making some, makes it quite a visual.
Yeah, I've been up to is it the volcano on Maui?
That's Haleakala. It's not active, but it is a volcano.
Yeah, I've been on the 2 a.m. bike ride down the hill from that mountain. The great thing is it's all downhill. I guess it was at least 10 years ago that I did that.
That's a great experience.
Yeah, it was. I remember I kept thinking, this is weird. And of course, you're leaving at some crazy time, dawn or something, and it's freezing cold up there. So by the time you get to the bottom of the hill, you've removed about 6 layers of clothing.
Right.
But, I always remember it. It was fun.
In addition to some fun personal visits like that, my loyal listener, Steve, the mystery emailer, has pointed out that he thinks the first Yes concert in Honolulu was not until March 30th of 1988. Is that possible, Chris?
That is very possible. 88, that sounds about right. Big Generators tour.
Exactly.
I'm surprised we didn't play there on the 90125 tour, but I guess that would have been more around 84.
He notes that visit on the Big Generator tour, as you said, had a Chris Squire bass solo on Amazing Grace.
Yeah, I remember that.
Another appearance a little bit more contemporary and also unusual. You guys played here in September 2003, the Symphony at the Blaisdell Arena.
Yeah, and I think we played again on our way back from Japan. I remember playing at the arena too, downtown in Oahu. But I remember doing it with the symphony.
When you think about yourself, I was sitting last night listening to Heart of the Sunrise and Yours Is No Disgrace, Starship Trooper, just having my mind blown again by the stuff that you do. And when you think of playing with the symphony, take us back to the beginning of Yes and its integration with classical music.
Well, we just wanted to, I guess both John Anderson and myself were classical music fans anyway, and that was part of the blueprint of the band when we first formed it, that we wanted to, a band that was, could play rock and roll, but we wanted to be able to play a slightly more advanced form of rock and roll, and which embodied some of the values in classical music. So we were big Stravinsky fans, and mainly Stravinsky, but lots of other composers as well. We shared a love of that music. So we built that into the Yes approach to life, really, and it stayed with us. And then right early on our second album, Time and a Word, we worked with the orchestra. Then it came, around to doing Magnification, and we did it with the orchestra again.
How did our orchestra compare with the many fine musicians you've done?
I think the Hawaiian guys did a good job.
That's cool.
Yeah.
When you think of your personal life, so many people are fans of the sounds that you made. How much credit does St. Andrew's Church Choir get for starting the musical direction of The Son of a Taxi Driver?
Yeah, that is funny because, I was real lucky in that, I was just a kid then, but I had great Barry Rose came to my little church choir, and he later went on to become the organist and choir master at St. Paul's Cathedral for the Charles and Di wedding, and he was a rising star in church music. And I was really fortunate that he was my educator in that field, and he was a pretty cool guy too, and he liked some rock and roll as well, so it was a good education for me.
And I guess that gets balanced with your love of the Beatles causing your descent into hedonism, your suspension from school in 1964 due to long hair that was Beatle inspired.
That was exactly. That did happen.
Do you remember that now? You can see that as like a point when you began to be a rebel, maybe?
Well, I guess, the head of the school was a bit of a really because he knew we were breaking up for the summer break, and of course we've been growing our hair, hoping it wouldn't get noticed. It was too long, so we could have it long for the whole summer. And it was the day before the last day of school, and he called us into his office and said, okay, you two guys need to get your hair cut. And we said, well, we'd love to, but we just don't have any cash. And he put his hand in his pocket and pulled out his own money and gave it to us. And I remember my buddy and I walked out of his office and, looked at the money, and, and we went, okay, let's go to the music store. And I never went back.
I love it. Yeah. That is good. And then did you get to hook up with those dudes and ever sort of were there Beatle encounters?
Oh, yeah, no, I met all of them and had quite extensive talks with George, actually. And I used to go around to Ringo's house quite a bit because we both had studios in our country homes, and we'd always be sharing studio gear and stuff. I'd see him occasionally. And I met John Lennon once at the Apple offices and chatted to him. And McCartney I've met 2 or 3 times. Yeah, interesting guys.
It's got to be rewarding for you. Check that off the list. Been there, done that.
Yeah. The most interesting meeting was the first time I saw George was at a kid's birthday party. His publicist was having the kids' party, and I guess he was there with a kid, and I had some kids there. And I always remember he started off the conversation with me because he knew, I guess, his buddy had told him that Yes was successful. And so he turned to me, he said, so can you tell me what's going on in the music business? I thought that was the oddest question to get from George Harrison, but that's how we started the conversation.
Do you remember what you told him?
I said, I think I said, you're the last person I expected to ask me a question like that. I thought you owned the music business.
That is a quality story, Brother Chris. I high-five you for sharing that memory. That's what doing an interview is all about. And just getting to talk to you. It's legendary bassist from Yes, Chris Squire, joining us today on All Things Considered. Thank you so much, Chris, for doing this.
Nice talking to you. Aloha, it's Chris Squire from the band Yes. And I hope you're enjoying the show with my buddy, Dave Lawrence.